Hey guys, welcome back to the Unreal Engine 4 tutorial, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create a very basic and simple but very effective puddle. So this is going to be a very quick tutorial to show you how to do a puddle. They're going to look something like this. What we can do is we can place in our blueprint. It's going to be a random puddle texture, so it'll be different each time, and it will also have different rotations and scales each time as well. So each one will look slightly different. And now I only have two textures materials in here at the moment, but you can put as many as you like in here to get it more random and more different, more unique for you. And you can change the values at which they will change size and rotation as well. So you can just get these to look really good for you. Now obviously these don't look too great for me, but obviously change the texture to make them better. And then also if you have them in a landscape which is naturally wet, where it's raining, all of this good stuff, they will look a lot better instead of just being on this concrete floor where it doesn't make much sense. So it doesn't look too good just because you naturally think it doesn't make sense for them to be there. So I'll show you how to do this now. So our first step is going to be to import our puddle textures. So again, I've only got two, so you can just drag and drop them in here like that and just import them like so. Now the two I have got transparent backgrounds and it's just a very simple puddle texture on here. So again, you can get some better ones if you'd like. These are just some very simple ones. In fact, I think this one might actually be milk, but you know, it gets the job done. You just need something very simple like this. Making sure again that they are transparent backgrounds, so they're PNGs. If yours doesn't have a transparent background, what you can do is you can just hit this chroma key texture here and just set the color to be whatever the background is, like white, black, anything like that. So that's an easy way to fix that. And once you've done that, what we want to do is we want to create the material for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click, create a new material, and I'm going to call this one Puddle Matte, like so, and open that up straight away. Then in here, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we can set different textures to be in this material, so again we can get it to be random. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down T, left click to get a texture sample there, right click on the arrow there, and just convert to parameter. So now we have a parameter 2D for our textures. And you can search that as well, but this is just a lot quicker as we have the shortcuts and the hotkeys there. Then I'm just going to name this one Puddle Texture. Now memorize what you called this and how you've spelt it, because we need to spell this the exact same way later on. Obviously we can always check it again, but just remember what you've put it as. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down 3, left click to get a constant vector there, and this I'm just going to set to be a color of white. So it's going to be 1 on the R, 1 on the G, 1 on the B. So we just get a white color like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these together. So if you hold down M, left click to get a multiply, A goes into that constant vector there, B goes into the RGB values of our texture, and then the return value of that will go into the base color like so. Now this hasn't worked yet, but that's just because we haven't put a texture in here, so don't mind that error. So what this is going to do is it's going to get our texture, multiply this by a white color. It's black for the moment, but it just hasn't loaded yet, and then that will be our base color. And the reason it's the parameter is so we can change this to be different textures. So if we select our texture there, what we're going to do is just scroll down the left, change the puddle texture to be just one of our puddle textures. It doesn't matter which one, as we'll change it later on. But we just need it in there as a reference. So get puddle 1, for example. Then what we want to do is just deselect this, and then scroll back up, and actually select our puddle here. And then under the material, what we're going to do is change the material domain to be a deferred decal. And this is because we want to actually be setting these to a decal materials, so we can use the decals, obviously. Then the blend mode under that, we want to change to be translucent. As obviously we have a transparent background, we want to have this translucent. So the alpha of that texture is going to go into the opacity of the puddle matte like so. So like I say, now this should look a lot better and we should have our transparent puddle material. So we just hit apply, wait for this to load. You should see that in this preview up in the top left here, we should get a nice puddle texture. So we'll wait for that to load and see what happens. So as you can see, mine's loaded and we have this puddle up here. Now it's quite see-through, it's quite transparent, but we'll see that's how we want it. So this is working, and we can just save and close that. So that's all we need to do in the material. Then what we want to do is we want to right click on this and create a material instance and hit enter, and that's done. So we just need an instance of this so we can change it and edit about that texture parameter that we just made. Then after this, what we want to do is we want to actually create a blueprint for our decals so we can actually put in our puddles. So we're going to right click, go to blueprint class, get an actor. I'm just going to call this one Puddle BP like so, or Puddle Decal BP, anything like that, and just open it up straight away. And what I'm going to do straight away is I'm just going to add a component up in the top left. I'm just going to get a decal, so that's what we're using. And hit enter like so, just give it that same name. Now one thing we need to make sure we do in here is we need to rotate it on the Y, so on the pitch, by -90. Now if we don't do that, it's going to mess up and not look good at all, and it's going to stretch and be really weird as it's on its side. We need to make sure we do that, and this should now work perfectly. And you're seeing the decal material down here. What we're going to do is we're going to set that to the instance we just created. So if we search for Puddle Matte Instant there, we just compile, save that. So now this will technically work, but what this is going to do is it's just going to use the one material, the one texture. and not be random at all. So let's fix that. So if we go over to the construction script, so what this is going to do is every time this is constructed, so when it's moving, when it's being placed down, anything like that, it will do this, which is obviously what we want. So not off of event begin play, because it'll be different whenever you play the game, one off of a construction script, so when you make the blueprint and when you place it down and when it's updated. So what we want to do off here, the first thing we want to do is set the texture. So we're going to drag and drop a reference to our decal from the top left up here, get it in here. We're going to create dynamic material instance, plug that in there like so. The return value of this, we're going to set texture parameter value, and this is why we needed to remember what that name was. So here we have parameter name. I set mine to be puddle space texture with a capital P, capital T. So I've spelt it the exact same way that I did there, because what this is going to do is it's going to read the material instance of the decal, find the parameter with this name, and then edit it with this value here, which is obviously what we want to do. So now this is where we're going to do the random part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two variables for my two textures. So I'm going to hit the plus variable here, call this one texture1 or puddle1, anything like that. Change the variable type from a boolean to a texture. Scroll down until you find just texture there, object reference. So we get a texture object reference, compile. You see we have texture1 here. Change the default value to be my puddle1 like so. Hit a plus variable again, call this one texture2, compile, change the texture2 default value to be puddle2, and then you add as many as you have. So if you have 5 textures, add 5 variables, or you could do this in an array, but this way it's just going to be a lot easier for you to understand. So do it this way. So what we want to do to make this random is we want to right click and get a select like so. So it's going to select one of these options from an index here. The return value is going to go into the value there of the set texture parameter value. Option 0 will be texture1, option 1 will be texture2 like so. And the index, to make this random, what we want to do is we just want to get a random integer. So we get a random integer like that. With the max, I have 2 different options. So we have option 0, option 1, so I have 2. So I want to set the max to be 2 like so. So it's going to pick a random integer with the maximum of 2. So we can then choose this like so. So it's going to get either 1 or 2, and if it's 1, it'll pick this one. If it's 2, it'll pick this one. And then it will set that texture to be the texture in a material like so. Then what we want to do next is make it so that the rotation and scale are random as well, so each puddle is different. So what we're going to do is just going to scroll out here. Actually, 1 minute, I'll comment this so we know what it's doing. It's setting random puddle texture. And again, add as many as you want. So if you have 5 here, put 5 and then an integer there. And after this, I'm going to drag and drop another reference to our decal up here. So get a decal like that. Drag out of this, I'm going to set relative scale 3D. Plug that in there like so. Move this out a bit. And then I'm going to right click on the new scale 3D there, so the vector. I'm going to split the structure pin so I can change the X, Y, and Z. And now I'm going to change these to all be the exact same one, but I want to make sure that these are float values so I can change them with floats. So then I'm going to right click, get a random float in range, like so, and plug the return value into all 3 of the X, Y, and Z values there. So whatever this random float is, it will set that to be the X, Y, and Z. And now this is going to be the scale that we want. So you can mess about with this to get what you want, but I want it to be between 0.3 and 0.7. So again, mess about with this to get it perfect for you, but that's the scales that I want it to be in. So an easy way to test this out is to just get in before you set this, so just disconnect that like so, drag in your puddle, and just change about the scales like this to get it perfect for you, and get them from there. So that's going to work for me. So I'll reconnect that like so. So I'll comment that again, select it, press C, set random scale. And what I'm going to do is drag out the decal again. This time I'm going to set relative rotation. So set relative rotation like that, plug that in there. I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to right click on the new rotation, split structure pin so I can mess about with the float values. I'll just double click that to get a reroute node there to keep it nice and organized. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'll just copy and paste this random float in range there, put the return value into Z. We only want this one to go into the Z, as we want to keep the X as 0, and we want to keep the Y as minus 90, so it doesn't break. We only want to rotate it on the Z, so it's spinning on the correct axes. So we want to rotate it like this, not this, as obviously that's not how puddles work. So that's how we want to do it. So X is 0, Y is minus 90, Z is this random float in range. For this, we're going to put minimum of 0, maximum of 360. So it's going to go round in a full circle. And I'll just comment this again. This one is set random rotation. Now the reason we didn't do this in a transform is because we don't want to set the location as well. We just want the location to be where we put it. So now we can just do get active location, but this way is just a lot easier for you. So now this should work. So what we're doing is when we construct this, so when we place it down, when we move it, anything like that, we're going to set a random texture to be our puddle texture between whatever we have here. So it can be texture 1, texture 2, how many ever you have, and it's going to be completely random. We're also going to set a random scale of it between our values that we set as well, and then also a random rotation on any circle between 0 and 360 on the z-axis, like so. So compile, save, this should work. So like I say, if I can just drag and drop this in, you see as we're moving about, it's being constructed. What it's doing is it's changing the scale, rotation, and puddle texture. So that is how that's working like so. You can see it's all, every time it's doing this, it's being constructed, so it's doing the random thing we've just made. So I then place it down, you can see we got that in the end. Place another one down, you see we got it again, but it's at a different rotation. You can't tell too much with this one as it's a circle, but it did work. As you can tell by the box there. Place another one down, we've got that one, with that rotation, that scale. Place it down again, we've got that one, it's a bit smaller, and it's facing a different direction. So you can see you can customize this to get it perfectly however you want. So obviously with mine, I'm getting quite a lot of the same as it's just a 50-50 chance I only have 2, but you can add more textures, make the scales bigger, smaller, the rotation smaller, anything like that, and change the texture around as well, of course. I'll just delete that, I was testing out earlier. So then we can just do this like so, and this is working perfectly. Again, completely customizable for you. So now if we hit play, we can get in, we can have a look at these. They're looking very good like so. These are looking great in actual fact. So we've got these nice little puddles here. Very simple, very basic, but they do get the job done. We've got it nice and random, so it looks good. And I also have a video on doing footsteps. So if you want to walk over these and it play a footstep sound effect, I have a video on that as well. It's not specifically puddles, but you can apply the same logic to it as it is based upon materials. So you just change it for the puddle material that we've made. And again, obviously when you get this in your own landscape, this should look a lot better. So I think that'll be it for this video. We've done everything we wanted to do. We've created a puddle material and a puddle decal blueprint, which will be a completely random puddle with a random scale, random rotation on each time. So we can get completely dynamic puddles like so, and this is looking great. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, make sure to like and subscribe down below. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.